name is Lisa Ventura, also known as Rubi G. The title of this poem is Elegy for Truths Disappeared from History Books. Part 1. Atop Manhattan's second highest peak sits a 1765 George Palladian summer residence exclusively designed for British air. A White House without much external flair, but with unmatched views of Harlem, of Hudson Harbor, a fortress for Colonel Roger and Mary Morris, the largest human dealers of their time. Legally conducting trafficking affairs, publicly quenching a thirst for arrogant glamour, by building fortunes with bludgeoned money. Currency claiming in God we trust, but greed only trusts the green hues on its Benjamins. Wealth only trusts its addiction to power and thus tower over highly pigmented Americans. This game been rigged from the start. Affluence created the regimen. Hence, why law is always on the side of treasury. Lest we not offend our Pledge of Allegiance, but this is the origin of America's mysteries. Nightmares recycle themselves repetitiously, and superstitiously, privilege comes to colonize. Sacred ancestry, presently, forevermore, brown and black communities. The genesis of gentrification. Records proving we stand upon consecrated territory whose maiden name is Lenapehoking, 50 city blocks, wrenched from indigenous hands to satiate European business and pleasures, consisting of genocidal experimentations in the name of economical explorations. Who couldn't live prosperously, predator and preying their way through Algonquin-speaking nations? A country's foundation landmarked for its colonization efforts, but not for the lambs sacrificed by brute British hands. For 5 consecutive weeks, autumn of 1776, General George Washington and his team encamped in the second floor's octagonal room, plotting, utilizing said vantage point to this country's advantage. Part 2. In 1810, Stephen and Eliza Jumel purchased the residence and its surrounding acreages. Later, Madame Jumel, a self-educated businesswoman and widow twice over, made a name for herself by marrying immigrant, but rich, only to be scorned by New York's haughty elite. Unfortunately, her scheme didn't guarantee a seat with the likes of Regina George and her dweebs. Madam wasn't born into greed. Free as bald eagles on dollar bills, Eliza did not remarry and began to summer in Saratoga Springs, crossing paths with a free black family. A free family. A family. Hiring them all as staff and daringly claiming black offspring as her kin, but still treating them like property. Part 3. Ann Northup, mother, wife, cook, and not quite a widow but a beloved husband and adoring father, had gone missing. Solomon Northup, farmer and gifted musician, was alienated from his relatives by way of trickery, lured, kidnapped, and drugged into slavery, hauled from Saratoga Springs to Washington, D.C., to Louisiana, and finally New Orleans. For 12 years, a slave, clearing cane to develop land that would never be entrusted to any of his kids, Margaret, Elizabeth, or Alonzo. For a decade, Burden of proof was on him, and amendments per usual were not on his side. Typical narrative of Black America the Great. 4. The epilogue. Lest we never forget, there are two sides to every quarter, but underdogs always foot the bill. And so, this reverence and spotlight is reserved for the lives that never mattered, for the flesh that endured as souls decayed, losing hope, strength, and perhaps the desire to remain alive, doing so anyway, while humbly serving its enemy. Thank you.